Oh hey, it's you. Well, it sure has been a long time since we've seen each other.
Sorry about that.
But let's go through a quick recap of all of the things that have happened since we last saw each other. Let's see. We moved again, and then moved a third time into the place that we are now. We also went through 3 relationships, lost our best friend and favorite cooking partner, probably the world's greatest grandfather ever known. Aside from all of that, a couple of other things that have happened. We actually upgraded our cookware from the cookware that you last saw on the last video that I ever made, which we never actually got to use on video, and upgraded our entire cookware set to cast iron, and I definitely prefer to use that whenever possible. Primarily, I use it all the time. We'll actually, in a future video, go through all of that, the pros, the cons, my seasoning and care process for the cast iron. It is a lot of work, but this is not the right video, not the right place, and not the right time to go through all of that. We also have gone through an entire rebranding process, and we did this for a couple of different reasons. Number one is it's just a lot easier to have everything in one place and all of my collective work under one brand. The other reason may be that there's a little bit of an access problem with the Cooking Millennial channel, but we won't go into that. Oh, and did I forget to mention that this period of absence may have included several mental breakdowns? As if you couldn't tell!
I'm a psycho.
Nonetheless, the point is, I'm back! But now that we got all of that out of the way, let's get cooking! Ugh! Oh, fuck. Getting too old for this shit. For this welcome back video, I figured that we would go ahead and do something really delicious, really special, and something that I don't think that we ever did on the Cooking Millennial channel. We are actually going to be doing some baking today, and lately it has been a little bit wet, rainy, cold. We are entering the fall season, so I figured what better recipe to make than a warm apple pie. For this occasion, I was actually strongly considering doing this warm apple pie in just one of my standard 10-inch cast iron skillets. However, when I was out getting the ingredients for this recipe, I could not pass up the opportunity to go ahead and get a cast iron pie pan. For those of you that remember some of the older videos, you may know that whenever possible, I like to make my recipes from scratch. So we're actually going to be going through the entire process of making this pie. We're going to be making a homemade crust. We're going to be homemaking the filling, and then of course ultimately baking and eating this delicious pie. Of course, we need to start with the pie crust, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the ingredients. For this recipe here, pretty simple. We have 1 1/4 cups flour, 2 teaspoons of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, half a cup of butter or 1 stick, and then a 1/4 cup ice water. We're going to go ahead and stick that back in the fridge so it stays nice and cold. Alrighty, so our first step in this process is to go ahead and mix together the dry ingredients. So we're going to go ahead and put in our flour, sugar, and salt, and then go ahead and mix those together. Next, we want to sprinkle in our butter diced up into about 1/4-inch cubes, which I already did for the sake of time in this video. I didn't think that we needed to, show the cutting process there. So we're just trying to sprinkle these in here as evenly as possible. And then we're going to go ahead and go through and use a pastry cutter to really try to work this into our dry ingredients until we have like pea-sized clumps in there. God, these dices are sticking together a little bit, so yeah, we'll see how this works out. Alright, and now we want to add our cold water kind of evenly as possible in there. Take a little spatula here and then go ahead and start mixing that together. It should start thickening up to give us a nice dough to work with here. Should have some nice wet clumps forming in here, and then we can form this into a dough ball. So we still have a lot of dry clumps, or a lot of dry spots in here that aren't sticking together. So what we can do in that situation is we can go ahead and add 1 or 2 more tablespoons of ice cold water. In this case, since I have so much dry in here, I'm going to go ahead and add 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use my hands to get this finally like mixed together a little bit better here. Get all that dry stuff, and then we're going to form a dough ball out of this here. So let's get this all together here. So we're starting to get a nice and sticky dough ball here. You can see it's sticking really well to like my fingers, sticking really well to each other. The bottom of the bowl for the most part is cleared of all of the dry stuff. So that's good. That's exactly what we're looking for right there. We're just going to knead this together a little bit more. Don't want to overmix it, as with most things. Try to stick as much of this stuff on here as possible. I want as much crust as possible. This right here should be enough for the bottom part of the pie crust. We're going to go ahead and make a second one of these so that we then have the top of our pie as well. Once you've formed this into a dough ball, you can wrap it in parchment paper, you can put it in a plastic bag, whatever it is, and then we actually want to go ahead and cool this in the fridge for about an hour, and that will give us some time to start our work on the filling for our apple pie. Guys, do not, I repeat, do not try to cube your butter from a frozen state. It's a disaster. Yeah, I'm going to let that thaw a bit. While our dough is chilling in the fridge, it's time to start the process on the filling for our pie. So let's go ahead and take a look at the ingredients for that. Alrighty, so we have about 7 to 8 apples. I am doing 8. I'm going to do 4 Honeycrisp and 4 Granny Smith. Realistically, you can use either one kind or multiple kinds like I am. You can use different kinds other than Honeycrisp and Granny Smith. It really just depends on your personal preference. Then we have a half cup of brown sugar, half a cup of granulated sugar, a quarter teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of ground cloves, and 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. This is where I kind of differ. I'm going off of the traditional route. You'll see I don't have any cinnamon in this lineup whatsoever. I am particularly a very big fan of ground cloves. It really gives me that holiday taste. I love it, and let's be honest, who does not love nutmeg? So I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm kind of interested to see how this turns out. Realistically, when it comes to this portion, you can really do whatever spices you really like, whatever your personal taste is. This is just what I like here. We also have 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. From what I have read, this primarily is to help thicken up the, I guess that sauce or whatnot that you get in the pie. So, yeah, that's why we have that there. We've got a tablespoon of butter and 1 egg. So, there we have it, guys. Let's get started. Alrighty, so for this next step in the process, we want to take our apples and then add our sugars, salt, and spices, and then kind of set that aside for an hour for everything to kind of soak together all of the juices. For the sake of time in this video, I've already taken the liberty to go ahead and slice up our apples. I personally decided to leave the peels on, despite the fact that in a lot of the research that I did on apple pie, it did say to go ahead and peel the apples. I decided, for the sake of time, just to go ahead and leave the peels on, and I'm kind of interested to see how it turns out in doing so. This is crazy. This is the largest bowl that I have. And these apples barely fit in there. Unless these shrink down, we may not actually end up using all of these for the pie. Now, when you go to slice your apples, you want to make sure to do them pretty thin. I personally, this time around, used this type of apple slicer. I personally like the 3-in-1 apple slicer a little bit better. My mom used one growing up. I'll add a picture of it over the video here so everyone can kind of see what that looks like. Really neat. What it does is it peels the apples, it decores the apple, and slices it in very, very, very thinly as well, all at the same time, in almost like a slinky type fashion. So really, really cool. I however, just don't have one of those at my disposal right now, but I definitely want to get one, especially if I continue to do apple pies. So some of my slices, you see, ended up a little thicker than I wanted. That's one of the main reasons I want one of those slicers. I think it's just a bit more efficient, really. So, all right, this looks pretty well mixed together here. So now, like I said, we want to go ahead and set this aside and let it sit for 1 hour to really soak in all the flavor. You want to do that at room temperature, according to everything that I read. So we're going to try that, and then we'll be back for the next step in the phase. All right. Now that our pie filling has been sitting for roughly about an hour, we want to go ahead and prep our pie pan, as well as get our dough ready to be placed into the pie pan. So let me go ahead and take you through that process and show you what that's all about. Now, most cast iron that you buy is going to come pre-seasoned. You can see that this one definitely is. There's a little bit of a gloss to it. I am still going to add a little bit more of my own seasoning, though. Basically, what I do to do that is I actually have the brush sitting here to kind of heat up a little bit. And I do it on a very, very low temperature, just enough to get the pan nice and warm to the touch here. Not enough to where I couldn't keep holding it, but, you know. And then my seasoning that I use is this here. Basically what this is fat that I have purified, and this is mostly consisting of bacon and sausage fat. So let me go ahead and show you kind of how that works, or how I go through and do this. Now, in the future, I'll actually go through my entire process of seasoning cast iron, cleaning and seasoning. Wow, they did a really good job on this. Really, really glossy over here. But basically, so like I said, I heat up my brush, get it nice and warm, and then I take my seasoning mix that I've made, or you know, whatever you want to call it. And I just rub my brush in there nice and get it nice and saturated here. And then I'm just going to rub that into it while it's nice and hot. And again, we're going to do a video in the future where this is, you know, I go through the whole process of how to clean and season the pans. This is one part of the process. Normally you would go through and then you would bake this on there. I usually bake it for an hour at about 350 degrees. And then that seasoning really gets on there. Right now what I'm doing this for is a little bit of extra non-stick for that pie crust. I really don't want it to stick on there. And then like I said, this is purified bacon and sausage fat. The purification process takes out all of the flavor and smell, so you don't have to worry about getting that bacon or sausage flavor into your pie or whatever it is that you're cooking. So a really great process, and now you can see it's nice and glossy. Alright, hopefully I've given myself enough visual space for the camera here, but we're now ready to go ahead and start rolling out, flattening and rolling out our dough. Getting that ready. So, I'm not sure if this is really necessary with pie crust. I'm sure it is. But we don't want it to stick to the counter. So I'm just going to put a little bit of flour on the counter here. We'll take our dough here. It's been chilling in the fridge for an hour here. And then I'm just going to lay it out. And then I'm going to see if we can't roll this out nice and efficiently. So you can see here, I didn't quite use enough flour, honestly, on the countertop. So I'm going to add a little bit more here. We really don't want that. Really don't want that to stick. Alright, so we're looking pretty good here. What we want is we want this to be probably about 1.5 inches bigger than our pan. So as long as that's not too hot, I'm going to grab that, compare the size, and make sure that we're looking good here. Nope. So we need quite a bit more size out of this. So we're going to continue this process until we get it a bit bigger here. Oh yeah, that is looking quite a bit bigger.
That's what she said. Michael.
Oh yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, yep, we're looking good. We're looking good there. That's about perfect. And it comes up nice and easy. Beautiful, beautiful. So now I'm going to go ahead and get this pie crust put into our pie pan. Just making sure that there's no pockets of air in there and that it's setting nice and well against the walls here. And this is about perfect. This overhang, I really like that. That's perfect. And then basically what we'll do is we'll come around and we'll trim the edge of this off up to the point of the pan here. All right, not the most beautiful work of art on the planet, but that'll do. Now let's set this aside while we get the next part of our pie crust ready, which will be the top. Now it's time to toss our cornstarch with our apple mixture here, and then transfer if not all of the apples into our pie dish. So let's get the cornstarch in here and get started on that. And you can see that we have a lot of juices here at the bottom. We're going to get into those here in just a little bit. The cornstarch is mostly for that juice. All right, that looks pretty well mixed. Let's see how well these transfer into our pie dish. Now I'm going to say that placement is kind of everything here. I'm going to kind of just wing it on how I'm going to place these in here. If you have any tips, feel free to drop that in the comments below. My idea right now, I guess, is just to randomly grab apples and go for it. I'm not doing it in any particular order. I kind of figure maybe placing them in a ring like this is a good idea. Obviously, this is my first time really doing an apple pie, so we're experimenting together. So at this point, now that I have a ring at the bottom, I think I'm just gonna randomly throw and level these in here. We're getting a little bit above the rim at this point, so we're just about done here. I don't think we want to stuff it too much. I don't know. Honestly, I'd say that's pretty good. We have about this many apples left, so not bad. I just don't want to overstuff it at this point, you know? Otherwise, I might actually stick them in there, but I think I'm going to play it safe here and call this good for now. So hopefully my top crust turns out okay. I noticed when I went through to roll it out off camera here, because we used frozen butter in that, I'm seeing some butter chunks. So hopefully that doesn't end up super detrimental to our pie. But we're going to find out. We are going to find out for sure. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully it's not detrimental. Hopefully it comes out looking okay here. So I'm just going to try and press this into the edge crust and hope for the best there. Again, this is obviously my first time. I don't claim to be a professional. So there's that. And then just as before, we're going to trim off excess dough here. Alright. That's pretty good. Now, I'm wondering if I just take this, roll it, and stretch it a little bit. But maybe if that will go ahead and keep those pie crusts fused together. Yeah, not really. Kind of, but not really. I guess when the baking process is done, we'll really know then. Now, finally, we want some slits here in the top of the pie for ventilation. Not going to look the prettiest. That's okay, though. We're after taste. Besides, if you go to make this for somebody special, it's a thought that counts. Alright, so we have some ventilation in our pie there. Hopefully that's enough ventilation. I have no idea what I'm doing. Now it's time to bake it. So almost forgot to mention, before we go ahead and stick this pie in the oven here, that one of our ingredients is missing out of our steps here. It's our tablespoon of butter. Honestly, there's a good reason for this. So before you put the pie crust on, you want to take that butter and then dot it over the top, or spread it evenly over the top of the pie filling mixture. I decided not to do this mostly because I have a bunch of butter in the top of the pie crust there, and I'm thinking that that should hopefully help supplement that. So, yeah, there's that. Alrighty, and to give our pie a nice golden crust top here, we're going to go ahead and take our egg, whisk that together. Honestly, could have probably used a bigger bowl, but that's okay. And we're just going to give it a nice little wash over the top here. And again, this should hopefully give us a nice golden brown top. That looks to be about enough there. So let's go ahead and get this beauty into the oven. Alrighty, so we want to have our oven preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Then we're going to go ahead and stick our pie in the oven, and we're going to let that bake for about an hour and 15 minutes. And there it is. It's in there. Alright, quick update here. Listen to that sizzle. We still got about a half an hour left, but look at how golden brown that is. Like, man, that is looking good. Yeah. Alright guys, and the moment we have been waiting for is finally here. So this pie has been baking for about an hour and 15 minutes. Timer has gone off. Let's take a look and see what it looks like. Oh man. Oh. Yeah, that looks great. All right, let's see if we can get this out of here with one hand. All right. Ooh. Not too shabby. All right, look at that beautiful golden top. My slits actually ended up looking pretty good. Pretty impressed with that, if I do say so myself. Oh man. So yep, now we're just gonna let this cool a bit and dive in. Alrighty, well we have let this pie cool for about an hour, and it is actually still pretty warm. That is a good thing, because I do want to add some ice cream on top of this, let it melt a little bit, you know, get that warm apple pie and ice cream. Nothing better, nothing better. Not gonna lie, I am a little nervous to cut this, not only because of the new pan, so hopefully it didn't stick, but also, like I said, it is still a little bit warm, so hopefully it doesn't like fall apart or anything like that. So I don't know. Without further ado, let's go ahead and cut into this pie. Oh man. I am super nervous, you guys. Oh my god. Now even my pan is cool enough to actually touch, which is great. Oh yeah, it's flaky. It certainly is flaky. Oh my god. Alright. I wonder if I should just try to gently do like a slice here. Alright. So there's that. I wonder if I can get my spatula under there. Let's get a plate out. Yeah! That cornstarch didn't thicken it up as much as I thought it would, but you guys. Alright, I'm gonna I'm gonna try to add some ice cream to this. I don't oh, that hit the floor. I don't have an ice cream scoop, so I'm wow. Just trying to do this with old old ice cream. Been in the freezer a while. God, I need a stronger spoon. Alright, I have a much stronger spoon. It did not help matters at all. You know what? Good enough. Alright, and here we have it, guys. Homemade warm apple pie with some ice cream. We should do homemade ice cream next time. I think that'd be a great idea. Anyways, it looks delicious. It smells delicious. With those ground cloves, I can definitely smell it. Let's find out what it tastes like. Guys, this is amazing. Absolutely amazing. You guys definitely need to try to make this and try it. Or, I mean, visit me and have some. Oh my god. This is the bomb. Oh my god. If you guys decide to make this recipe, feel free to snap a picture, put it in the comments below. I would love to see your guys' photos. If you like this video, go ahead and smack the like button. Love react, laugh react, I don't care. Just react in some way. Share it with your friends and family. I want everybody to see it. And God, I love you guys to death. And I will see you again next time. I almost forgot. Don't forget the wine.